And here we are for our special edition of Community Highlights. I am joined today by an amazing lady who has done so much. I can't wait for you to tell everybody what you're up to. This, ladies and gentlemen, is L.A. Walker, and she has a site, an organization called Social Issues Theater. Did I say that
Yes,
right?
you did.
SIT, Social Issues Theater. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Yeah, now tell everybody a little bit about you and how you got started. Now, I watched recently a couple of clips from some of the productions that you've done, and the way I understand it, you're dealing with actual real life problems people
Yes.
think that they deal with every day. So tell us about that.
Yes. Well, I came prepared with a lot of problems, so that helped me to understand other people's
Sure.
problems.
Oh, yeah.
Social Issues Theater was started actually by my companion and myself.
Nice.
And our goal was to just embrace topics that affect us every day.
Absolutely.
And we have done some things from racism to LGBTQ issues, women's issues, and most recently, we are embracing topics on dementia.
I read that recently, and that's
Yeah,
great.
yeah.
You know, all those topics are super important, especially at this day and time. And there's not one you could pull out that's more needy than the other. They're all very important issues.
They are.
For me, I have not had to deal with dementia
That's great.
too much, except for this fly that's in my face. But anyway, um, for me, it's been gender identity,
Okay.
people that are very concerned about how they're identified. Do you get a lot of that?
I get a lot of that. In fact, before the gender explosion
Yes.
in 2015, I got an opportunity to produce a play called No Labels.
Yes.
And it's about a homophobic dog that gets adopted by a gay couple,
Right.
freaks out,
The dog.
and has to go
Yes.
to therapy.
Yeah.
And so we had an opportunity to introduce a lot of gender perspectives
Yes.
and a lot of pro and con on the LGBTQ versus the heterosexual community
So-
through the dog.
So on that issue, the dog didn't like being with having two gay men as their owner. Is that
You
what I
know,
saw?
it really just mimics our lives. So
Exactly.
this poor dog, it was raised by homophobic parents.
Okay.
They were also racist.
Yeah.
They also had problems identifying with people,
Sure,
period. They had a
sure.
love problem.
Right.
And so they became unemployed and had to seek work, and they decided to give the dog up and take him to a shelter.
Right. Right.
And so the incompetence of the people that were working at the shelter mistagged the dog as a female when it was a male dog.
Oh, see.
And so that fit right into the stereotypical Ryan and Austin couple because Ryan was wanting this
Yes.
female
Yeah.
dog.
Right.
And so even though he knew it was a male dog, just let the dog, just dress
Isn't
the
that
dog
something?
in all kind of
And you
rhinestones.
have to see
and
it through
glasses.
those eyes
Exactly.
to understand what the true issue
Exactly. So
really
the
was.
dog was forced into homophobia. It
That's
wasn't the
amazing.
trueness from his
Yeah.
heart. Yeah.
Well, but it makes a real solid point about what you're trying to do. Now, you write a column for What's Up Vegas magazine.
I
Thank you
do.
for that.
I do.
I have a column in there. It's called How to Jimmy, but my focus is on entertainment and with a slant toward drag because I've done drag a long time. Sorry to talk about. I moved to Las Vegas in 1985 and to come do a show downtown Las Vegas. And I've been here ever since. I've been very fortunate to work. How about you? When did you first, are you born in Vegas?
Oh, no, I'm a native Chicagoan, but I've been in Vegas now for 21 years,
Oh,
so I don't really know where I'm from.
I know, I understand. I'm
Yeah.
from Texas, but you know what? After 38, however long it is, you just feel like I'm from Vegas.
Right.
I don't know
right.
anything about the other place anymore.
Yeah, I lived here 80, 81. I was a 21 dealer at the California Hotel.
Really?
Yeah, but I worked from 8 in the evening until 4 in the morning.
Yeah.
And I was enjoying life a little bit too much, so I decided to go back home
Oh,
and
smart.
restart.
Okay.
Yeah.
Home to Chicago.
Home to Chicago.
Okay.
And then
Wow.
in 2003, my spouse and I owned 2 boutique furniture stores in
Yeah.
Illinois. And it was so cold there. She had never been to Vegas before.
Extreme cold there,
Extreme-
extreme heat here.
But we went to Canada because we had a vendor there.
Yeah.
It snowed. We were snowed in for 3 days.
Okay, well, that'll do it.
And so I surprised her. She didn't know we were going to stop in Vegas.
Oh, okay.
When we got to Vegas, it was 65 degrees.
Oh, that's not bad.
She was so happy. But when we got back home 30 days later, she says, I want to move to Vegas. I'm like,
Nice.
no, you don't. You're not moving to
Are
Vegas.
you sure?
So I didn't pay her any attention. And then about 3 weeks later, she said, you're not taking me seriously. I want to move to Vegas. I was like, I guess we're moving to Vegas.
I guess
And,
so.
yeah. And
But
so,
she says goes. Well,
Right,
I'm
yeah.
glad you did. I just want to mention that you are the co-executive director of Social Issues Theater,
that is correct.
and you co-authored the Enable Me Theater pilot program.
That is correct.
Enable Me. I love the sound of that. You know,
Well, I'm
it's
glad. I'm glad you do. I can only take half credit. My co-executive director is Marcia Norris,
yes,
and through a phone conversation and something a little deeper than that, not only did my spouse have dementia, but her mom has dementia presently, and
right.
she's in serious decline. And so we created a play called The Wonderful World of Was,
Oh,
and it's a story about a chosen family who
yes.
unexpectedly takes on the responsibility of a loved one that should, to take care of this
With
with dementia.
Yeah.
And
Is that the one that has the chorus at the end that
Yes.
they come on and sing?
Yes.
I watched a piece of it last night.
All right,
It's
awesome.
brilliant. I'm gonna watch the whole thing
Thank you.
tonight for sure.
Thank you.
It's caught my attention. And then while I was looking at that, I noticed that what was the play that had the song "I'm a Man in Love with a Man"?
I'm a Man Who Loves a Man.
I'm a Man Who Loves
by
a Man.
Chase Brown, and that
Chase Brown was
that
a
was
guest
No
on our
Labels.
show recently.
Oh.
Yeah, he was one of our first guests. As a matter of fact, I love Chase. He's an
he's a
amazing
charmer. He's a
singer
charmer.
and a real charmer.
Yeah, he
You're
is.
right about
He
that.
is.
It's just so cute. But anyway,
That's true.
no. And what was the name of that?
No Labels.
No Labels.
That's No
That's a
Labels.
great one. And then you host a podcast. I'm not rushy, but
That's okay.
Up is Higher Than Down.
Yes.
That's so.
Any part of Up.
It's an easy part. It's the truth.
Any part of Up.
Anyway, LA, is there anything you want to tell our audience about your column and what you've got planned for the future?
Well, right now I'm really, really working on a dementia piece. We're really working on the Enable Me Theater part because dementia and dementia caregiving is a silent health crisis.
Right.
And so if we don't express it and let people know what's really going on, these are some startling statistics. So
Yes.
the Alzheimer's Association reports that over 30% of caregivers die in the process of providing care. That's number one.
Wow.
Stanford University increases that to 40%, and I wondered why. And then doing further research is simply because of the age of the caregiver.
Oh,
So generally, when people become caregivers, they're in their 70s
they're
or
older
80s.
already.
Right. And so now we're dealing with something that's more unfortunate, and that's
Right.
early onset
Yes,
dementia.
I understand.
And so if you have never been exposed to caring for someone with dementia and it's your first time,
Right.
you don't know anything.
You don't. I've been there a few years ago.
It's like walking into a wall.
It really is, and it comes on suddenly sometimes.
Yes.
You really don't realize.
Absolutely.
One of my best friends in the world, the man that actually brought me to Vegas in the 80s, ended up passing away from dementia, and it
Wow.
came on so quickly. And his friends and everyone around him, he was a showman, didn't know what was going on.
Sure.
It catches you by surprise. So, is there something that I don't know how to say this? Is there a key thing that you can recognize when maybe there's something going on with someone that you could help them get the help they need? Or
I think that I experienced this. I
Yes.
realized that my spouse had dementia 2 years before we were able to identify it,
what
articulate
it
it,
was?
and deal with it.
Sure.
And so I think that unfortunately is the case in most instances.
Right.
And that's because of lack of information.
That's so
Because
true.
you're asking me
That's
right
why I
now.
ask you.
You're right.
Yes.
When people cannot process information, and let me say this, there's over 100 different types of dementia.
I'm so glad you
Number
said that.
one.
I was just going to ask you because when I said,
Yeah.
"How do you know? How can you tell?"
Well, some
But
of them,
it's a slow. Sometimes it's slow. Sometimes it's very
sometimes
progressive.
it's not. So like
Yeah.
my spouse had Lewy body dementia,
Yeah.
which manifests itself initially in different types of behaviors.
Right.
There's some hallucinations, but more noticeable is that we, at the time, were in real estate business. And
Sure.
so she would ride shotgun and make all the phone calls and
Okay.
this, that, and the other. And one day I passed her the phone. I'm waiting, and nothing. And I'm like, you haven't made the call. She could not use her cell phone.
I got you.
And then it went from there to other things that were so familiar, like being able to operate a microwave.
Sure.
Couldn't do it.
Yeah.
So
I guess there's a lot of stories out
there's
there.
a lot of stories and a
My
lot of
big
different
story is
behaviors.
it's real quick. My friend, who I love so much, I was in New York City for a short visit. I was just there seeing some shows years ago, and I get a phone call, and it's a cab driver, and he said, "I'm here with your friend." He said to call you. He said, "I'm trying to take him home, and he can't remember his address." And he gave me the address that he gave him, and he was nowhere near where he was supposed to be. But those stories just make you, oh my God, what happened? You know, and is that going to happen to me?
That's a key thing that we think about. Is it,
Well, then we could go on and on about it.
Right,
I want to thank you so
right.
much for being here today. And Social Issues Theater, take a look at it. There's a website, right?
It is. It's the SIT, SIT.org.
Oh, very good.
Yes.
Go there. And a lot of the shows you could see, and you've got your podcast. And thank you for being on What's Up Vegas and writing your column.
Thank you.
L.A. Walker, her real name is Adelaide. Shh. I'm not supposed to tell anybody. Adelaide, I love that name. L.A. Walker, everybody. Thank you, sweetie.
Thank you,
You're wonderful.
Thank you.
We'll be back soon.
Raw and unfiltered conversations on how to give life's challenges the finger. Truth is your passport to emotional freedom. Give an eviction notice to negativity. Dump yesterday's garbage. Learn how to be positive, energized, healthy, and alive during these insanely unpredictable times. Look up, get up, stay up. Then help somebody else to get up. Remember, any part of up is higher than down. Now, broadcasting hope to the world, L.A. Walker.